Welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast, featuring inspiring interviews with Etsy shop owners, hosted by Ijama Elazu.
Hi, and welcome back to the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Ijama, and I am happy to be here. I have a return guest this week, and this conversation has actually been going on since 2018. And my guest this week is Stacey. She runs the business Graceful Designs. We originally had our first conversation back in September of 2018. That was episode 237, and I will link to that in the notes for this episode. So we're here to do a catch-up episode. I really enjoy doing the catch-up episodes because I feel like we learn so much more about how to just be better at what we're doing. So Stacey, thank you so much for being my guest, and welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you. It's good to be back. It's been a long time coming.
I know, yes. I always wonder if people wonder whether or not I'll ever do the follow-ups, but I promise you, everybody I've said I want to follow up with, I actually have a list of the names. And so, yes, they will come eventually, like this one.
I believe you. I mean, I'm here. I'm proof of that, right?
Yes. So just to quickly recap our last conversation, when we talked, you had left Etsy. It was soon after Etsy had raised their fees. And so you decided to start your own e-commerce website, and you're still doing it today. So can you catch us up just really quickly? What's been going on with your e-commerce website, and do you miss Etsy at all?
I'll touch the second one first.
Okay.
I don't miss Etsy at all. I still go on Etsy as a buyer, as a customer, for sure. I have a lot of favorite bead stores that are still there. I have a lot of friends that I've met through Etsy that I still like to support their stores. But as a seller, I don't miss it at all. I've found that running my own store, running my own website, it gives me the freedom to do what I want with it. And it's just a whole lot more customization that I can think about with the pricing and even the shipping amount, and if I want to run a sale and that kind of thing.
And you have all those capabilities on your e-commerce website. And for anyone who wants to check it out while we're talking, it's gracefuldawndesigns.squarespace.com.
That's correct.
Okay. And so you're able to do pretty much everything that you were able to do on Etsy, run sales, obviously do your shipping and all that, but you have more control. Are there any logistical aspects to running your own e-commerce website that you ran into that you weren't anticipating?
The biggest one was when I was first trying out how to organize my items into collections. On Etsy, it made it really easy that I could just slap a tag on there and have it listed down the side of the shop on the left-hand side. But with my own site, there were two different ways I could do it. I could either tag the items with a category that would pop up store-wide wherever I used that category, or I could put them in an individual product page and have it organized by product page. For a while, when I first launched the website, it was according to category, but now I've kind of gone away and I've seen the merit of having them as product pages instead, where I can keep each one individual, and then I don't have to worry about only marking down one section and accidentally affecting a second section. I can have it all completely separated if I need to have it that way.
Okay. Now, when it comes to things like shipping, do you also have the flexibility to use any carrier you want? So you can integrate USPS or FedEx or UPS?
Yes, there's the capability on Squarespace to connect your own ShipStation, I think is what it's called.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ShipStation. You can connect your own ShipStation account with the commerce. I don't have a station because I'm in Canada. I don't have a profile with them. But if I wanted to, I could easily create my own FedEx account and use them, or I could just even charge what I charge for shipping and then go and pay it at the post office, at my local post office, which is what I do.
Okay.
But I could very easily just set something up and have people come and do like a drop-off pickup kind of delivery.
Okay. And you mentioned you don't have a ShipStation account because you're in Canada. Is that because ShipStation does not service Canada?
That part I'm not sure about.
Okay.
I haven't looked into that myself quite yet.
Okay.
My gut instinct is that it would possibly be more expensive than Canada Post. I could be very wrong
All
about
right.
that. I
Yeah.
just haven't done the research about it yet.
Okay. Now, your website is gracefuldawndesigns.squarespace.com. Is there any reason in particular you chose not to go with a custom domain?
Mostly just budget.
Okay.
And by the time I had already figured out what I wanted my custom domain to say, I had already printed out my business cards, and I've still
Oh,
got a
got it.
good maybe 200 cards waiting to be used.
Okay.
So I'm not about to change my domain quite yet, and then have to reprint all those cards all over again. So
I
for the
see.
time being, it gets the point across.
Yeah. Okay. And then have you or are you aware of any SEO or search engine optimization ramifications that come with having a Squarespace subdomain versus a custom domain?
Not that I've been particularly aware of.
Oh, that's good.
Squarespace does very, very well with helping its customers find the traffic and just be found on random sites. There is the option on Squarespace as well where you can even go into your G Suite account information um, and figure out how to get your how to show all of your Google information and Google Analytics. It connects very well with that. Um,
Okay.
and it shows you really nicely up all over the web. You can also turn off a setting. I'm not entirely sure where it is. It's in the basic settings somewhere that you can turn off where it says show my site as recommended for other viewers on Squarespace. I have that turned
Mm.
on so that if people happen to be browsing around other websites, they might see my website as a pop-up that Google auto generates, and I'll get the view from their click.
Oh, nice. So
Yeah, it's a
Squarespace has
pretty
its own
well.
ecosystem going too.
Absolutely, it does. Yeah, and Squarespace is not just for commerce websites. Mine is primarily commerce because of my website or because of my store.
Mm-hmm.
But they offer, it is basically just a website provider. So you can build, if you want to build a website for a band, or if you want to try start your own social media, if you want to do like even a podcast website, that kind of thing, anything that you can really imagine, they can go ahead and power it for you.
Interesting. Well,
That
that's
being
good
said,
to
I'm
know.
not sponsored by them.
And neither am I.
I'm just a big fan.
But I will put a link to Squarespace so anyone who wants to check it out can do that. For the tech averse or those who don't want to get too deep into the weeds of learning a very technical system, how does Squarespace stack up
In comparison to like
in
Etsy or
comparison to to Etsy? So someone who's used to building their store on Etsy and has figured out how to do that. I know there must be some learning curve with Squarespace, but is it a very steep curve, and how much technical know-how would you say one has to have coming in to be able
it's
to
not
function?
it's not too steep of a learning curve, I would say. It did take me quite a while to figure out the behind the scenes portions of it, namely figuring out how to link to different pages on the site. But that was my biggest challenge, that and adding in my custom code so that when you scroll down to the bottom of a page, you can have that little blue arrow on the right hand side that'll take you back up to the top.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that took me a little while to figure out for coding, but I also don't speak any program languages. So I had to actually Google that one and figure out how to do that with a tutorial. For the rest of it, it's once you get the hang of it, it's pretty linear and you can figure out what you want to do with it and where you want to go with it. Um, it's a lot more complicated than Etsy, I would say,
Okay.
because Etsy, you put up your items, you list them, you can add them to different sections of your store if you want, and then that's it, you're live. That's all you need to worry about.
Hmm.
But for Squarespace, I found that I have to upload a collection or I have to upload my product, and then I have to go through the process of maybe I want to share it to Facebook, maybe I want to share it to my Twitter feed, maybe I want to have it be on this page, but only at a certain time. Maybe I have to put it on sale. There's a lot more to kind of factor in and figure out.
Okay. Did you investigate any other platforms, or was Squarespace the one you found and just stuck with it?
Squarespace was kind of the one that I just decided to go with. I did glance briefly at Shopify and WordPress when I was first starting to look away from Etsy,
Mm-hmm.
but I decided to go with Squarespace mainly for two reasons. One, I had a free 2-week trial prior to moving away from Etsy, even prior to opening my own store on Etsy. And I just remembered having a good experience with playing with the templates that were available and just moving stuff around and liking how it all looked and how it's very clean and professional. Um, Second reason being, it was the better option for budget when I decided to actually move away from Etsy.
Yeah.
It's a flat rate month to month, as opposed to Etsy where it can fluctuate depending on how many listings you have up in your shop at one time for the listing fees, and then the relisting if they expire after 4 months.
Oh, so Squarespace takes no money on the sales that you make. You only pay to host your store there.
That's correct.
Oh,
I only pay to
wow.
keep the website online. The services I use for the actual sales are PayPal and Square.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Stripe. Stripe is the one.
Okay, Stripe, yes.
Yes. So Stripe is verified the same way as any bank would be verified. So I had to send in a photo ID proving it was me and connect all my accounts and whatnot. But they have been excellent with their service. They as well as PayPal have a 3.5% on every sale that happens, on every transaction that happens in my store.
Mm-hmm.
So before I even see any of the revenue, they take a 3.5%, which is what Etsy used to charge for their
Yes.
transaction fees too.
Yes.
That being said, I also, at my store level, I can add on a sale tax if I need to for my province, or if I was in the state for my state. So I could collect that as well federally and then report that annually to my federal government if I needed to.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So it sounds like it pretty much does it all.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
It's once you learn, it is a bit of a learning curve going back to that. But once you learn how to make it really get up and go, it will really take off.
Okay. And then once you're up and running, and you figured out the bones and the structure of it, then it's just a matter of listing your products and if you want to, having a blog, because I know you have one as well.
I do. The blog from my website, it's under the About Us section of my website there. Yeah, you can blog if you want to. I can even put in, if I had a brick and mortar location, there's an option where you can add in a map to show people where you're located and give directions. There's a whole lot you can do with the site, really. It's built for anybody, even the commerce site that I have. You can really do anything with it.
Yeah. Very good to know. One of the things I like is that you're not static with your marketing and figuring out how to sell things. And you've had your first in-person market. So first of all, how did you select the market that you wanted to sell in? And how did you prep for the actual day?
Well, the market happened to fall onto my lap. I just happened to be browsing Facebook one night, and my best friend messages me, and she goes, "Hey, you're a friend from college. She's running her own market in this downtown cafe. Are you interested?" I said, "Yes, absolutely, I am." And then I commented on her. Then not after texting her, I looked down my Facebook page and I saw that the friend that was mentioned had actually posted, "Hey, I have a free table space. There's a table that's open right now. You can come and just pay this much for the table fee, and we'll set you up at the cafe." And I said, "You know what? Done. Sold. I'm on board."
Nice.
So I paid her the table fee, and packed everything up and decided to just head on over. And packing up for it was an interesting process. I decided to go ahead and count my entire inventory because I had no idea how busy I was going to be. So I counted about just over 470 pieces of jewelry at that point, not including the dream catchers I've created.
Wow. You've been busy, or you were busy.
I was busy, yeah, and that's also keep in mind that's also been accumulating since like 2014. So
Okay.
it's quite a lot of product. Um, not I have probably listed in my store at this point closer to 200, so about half of what I used to have. That count is probably blown out of the water by now too, because I continue to make and produce. So
Mhm. Yes.
I've kind of got a bad habit for that.
Okay. So, okay, now did you like I what type of market was this? Was it more of a craft fair or like a farmers market where there were different types of vendors?
It was kind of like a craft fair.
Okay.
It was myself, two other sellers, sorry, three other sellers in the actual store, in the actual coffee shop. It was hosted in a little coffee shop in the downtown area.
Oh, I like those.
So it was actually indoor. It was April, but because it was so cold, we decided to stay indoors the whole time.
Okay.
And also because the cold traffic was a little slower than we would have liked, but I still managed to break even, so I'm not all that upset. Um,
Nice.
but it was myself, three other crafters, and then the girl who had organized the whole thing. She popped by for an hour or so just to check in on us, make sure we had what we needed and everything was going well. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was just little craft fairs. Myself with the jewelry. The lady on my left had resin poured drawings. Like she had poured resin into little containers and painted fish onto the resin layers and then layered them up to make like a 3D art effect. It was really, really pretty to see. Um, and then there was another lady who had, I think, just a few earrings. Another one was selling some hand woven knit scarves and hats and that kind of thing. So it was just very, very crafty, very makers kind of deal.
Yeah. Do you know what type of advertising went into the market? Like how much marketing or exposure did the person who organized it put in?
She did a lot of marketing both on Instagram and on Facebook.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I all of us that participated also posted a lot of photos, a lot of promo photos on our timelines, just to kind of get the word out there that it was happening. Um, because it was a local event, a lot of the followers that I have are not local. A lot of them are international or they don't live in the same city that I live in and they couldn't have made it. But they did tell me that they had seen the photos and they wish they could have been there.
Okay.
So it was effective. It was pretty good. It was a pretty good strategy overall.
Yes.
I'm not sure if she actually paid for marketing to reach more people or if she just went organic like we did.
Hmm.
She never told me that and I never bothered to ask.
If you had to do it over again, what things would you do the same way and what things would you do differently?
I would, that's a good question. Something I would do differently, I would not pack up my entire inventory to bring to the store.
Too much?
I, yeah, too much. I had enough table space to display a good portion of it all. But at the same time, the choice might have been a little overwhelming to people. So I think I might have just stuck with maybe just earrings or just bracelets, just, just one of one item,
Okay. Yeah.
as opposed to bringing a bit of everything.
Yeah.
Um, Something I'd keep the same. I went with my best friend, two of my best friends, I should say. And I wouldn't have changed that experience for the world because if I was alone, I would have been bored to tears and a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
And as it was the day of, I was also a nervous wreck. I pretty much got dehydrated beforehand, just worrying and fretting about how well it would go.
Yeah.
But so if advice to anyone who's doing their first ever market, go with a friend if you can, because that'll alleviate the boredom and it'll keep you sane.
Good advice. So now having done it once, is it something that you will keep in your sales strategy to do more markets going forward?
Absolutely. I've always wanted to do in sale markets or in person markets and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
The only problem is there's not a whole lot going on where I live.
Okay.
Mostly just small towns and small cities and that kind of thing. So not a whole lot of market ability there. The girl who organized it, she does still continue to hold those kinds of crafty markets, and some are a little bit more successful than others. But every time I ask her and inquire if I could get a table at one of them, she tells me that she's already full up and booked for several weeks in advance.
Oh,
So
wow. So
yeah,
it's become
she's gotten
popular.
quite a bit of success. Yeah, the
Yeah.
one that I had participated in was kind of a fluke, actually, thinking about it. That I happened to see that there was an empty space, and she said, "Yeah, actually, I'm looking for someone." And since that point, every time I've asked, she said, "No, we're too busy."
So does she make money on renting out the table space? Is what's in it for her?
That I'm not sure. I know she's a friend of the person who owned the coffee shop where we set up our market.
Okay.
I do know that she sells her product through him as well. Like she has a permanent display up in the store.
Mm-hmm.
And then he is, I don't know if they have some sort of agreement for rent or whatever. But I do know that if people inquire about the pieces, he will sell them to her and then sell them to whoever is inquiring and then give the revenue back to her.
Oh,
So I
right,
don't know if he
right.
takes a portion of it or what the arrangement is, but I do know she's got a permanent display set up in the store.
Okay. Now, speaking about making sales at the market, was it for you a cash only market, or were you able to? Did you have a tool to collect payments through credit cards?
At the time, it was a cash only market.
Okay.
Had I known that I would have been able to do it through the app Square,
Mm-hmm.
had I known I would have been able to do that, I would have done that instead. Um, but I had cash. I did have my, um, well, in Canada, I don't know if this is a thing in the States, but in Canada, you can e-transfer money to someone directly from your bank. So I had
Yeah.
set that up before, so that if people didn't have their debit card or whatever, I could accept payment, and as soon as it cleared on my end, I would go ahead and give them the product.
Oh, yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and I did make a cash sale. I made a couple of cash sales. Mostly it was cash that day, but
Okay.
I am glad that I went ahead and set that up just in case too.
Yeah. I be, in the U.S. There's a bank money transfer thing called Zelle, and
Okay.
I think that's what you're describing, where it's a bank to bank transfer, and so
Possibly. Is Zelle a third party application? Like
yes,
it's, yeah. In
yes.
Canada, you can go directly from bank to bank. Um, for example, I work with TD Bank, is the one that I use,
Mm-hmm.
and they can in on their website itself, you can just type in the email address of the person who has their own account set up to receive the funds, and you can just directly deposit it into their account
Oh
right
yeah,
from your bank.
yeah. That's how it works.
Yeah? Okay.
Zelle just facilitates the transfer, but they
Oh,
can
I
be
see.
two different banks. It's just from one person's bank account to another person's bank account. No
Okay.
fees, nothing.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah,
probably the same thing then. Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know if it's called anything differently. I just call it the e-transfer. I think that's just what it's called in Canada. So I don't know if it's actually facilitated by a third party or not, but
Right.
yeah.
Okay, good. So that's another way, and that's a good way too, because you find out there and then if the payment has gone through, and it costs nothing to
Yeah,
either of
exactly.
you. Yeah, and no bank details are revealed. That's another good thing about these bank to bank transfers. You don't have to give them your account number. All
No,
they need is their phone
all I
number
would have
or an
seen
email. Hmm.
exactly. All I would have seen, I don't even need their phone number. I just need their email and that's it.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, you're correct.
Yeah. Good deal. Okay, so this is the other thing that's exciting me about what you're doing. You're using a platform that I don't believe we've ever talked about on this podcast, but I'm aware of it. I just don't really know how it works. And you're using Twitch, and you're streaming on Twitch and getting sales.
That's correct.
Okay,
So
first of all,
Twitch,
yes, thank you.
yeah. So Twitch is basically a service. It's a website where you can stream your crafting, you can stream your video gaming, you can stream just chatting, you can stream podcasts, basically anything that you want to put online, you can do it on Twitch.
Live.
Um, Live, exactly.
Okay.
So how it basically works, to give you an example here. Um, if I were to stream with my webcam, I have my webcam set up to stream on my desk so that my desk area is captured while I'm doing my crafting and beading and whatever.
Mm.
While I'm streaming, on the side of the website, there is a scrolling text chat where you can actually chat and interact with the person who's streaming, with the broadcaster. You can ask questions, you can just talk to them, you can keep them company, you can comment on the game, whatever you want to do. It's available and open there for you. Individual streamers might have their own rules in regards to what you can and cannot say. There is also Twitch guidelines that you must adhere to, so no racist talk, no slander, no, just general be nice to everybody type of deal, that kind of thing. But yeah, individual people can stream whatever they want to.
So I don't know why I've just always thought Twitch was for gamers, where you just watch people playing video games live.
That's where it got its start.
Okay.
Twitch started with video games as its main thing.
Okay.
Back in the early days, it was just for streaming. I think they got big. I might be incorrect about this, but from my understanding, they got big when they started streaming with League of Legends tournaments, and that's how they kind of took off. There might be some other back history there that I'm not aware of. But then since then, they have kind of expanded into video gamings plus a whole lot of things. If you browse onto Twitch and you just browse categories, you can find games per category, or you can even go into food and drink. You can go into makers and crafting. You can go into podcasts. There's a whole lot of categories that you can pick and choose what you want to see or participate in.
Okay. And it's all free?
It's all free. In order to chat in the chat boxes and interact with the streamers, you need an account. But all you need for an account is a username. You need to create your own username and an email address, and then that's it.
Okay.
And then you're signed up, and then you can just go from there.
Okay. Now, why Twitch versus something like Facebook Live or Instagram Live?
Twitch was kind of a fluke, I'll be honest.
Okay.
I first started streaming on Twitch many years ago, back in 2015 maybe.
Okay.
Just gameplay, and I just decided, hey, let's just have fun, and I'll hop on with the clan that I play games with, and we'll just have a fun night and stream it and just put it out there so people can watch. Then after that, I kind of stepped away because my computer went kaput, which is a whole nother kettle of fish. But after that, I just kind of I was watching. I have a couple of favorite people that I've discovered that I watch on Twitch that I just pop into their channel and I watch when I can. And then back in, I want to say, summer-ish of 2019, I stumbled upon the category called Makers and Crafting in Twitch. And there was a girl there who was streaming knitting and crochet. And I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. That's a craft that I can't do. Let's hop in and talk with her, chat, and see what's going on. And then she ended up, one day when I was in her channel, she ended up going to another channel and bringing her followers with her. It's called a raid, where you can bring your followers that are watching you, and you can go into another channel and raid them and give them the views that you just had and bring the people that were watching with you. And so she raided another person, and I went, oh, this is an entirely different craft. That person was doing hand loom weaving. On a 1920s heirloom loom that he had gotten from his family, passed down generations. And so he was doing a completely different craft. And from there, I just kind of explored and thought, maybe there is something to streaming on here and showing off my craft. And then I figured, you know what? I have a not great laptop anymore, but I can see what I can do with this. And sure enough, the software that I needed was available for my computer. And so I downloaded it and decided, you know what, let's just go ahead, let's do it. And so in January, I started streaming.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I'm amazed that there's a whole community of crafters and makers on Twitch, only because I always just thought it was for gamers. And so it's good to know that they're there as well. And the whole point is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to live stream so people can watch what you're doing, right?
That's exactly right. When I first started live streaming, I take upcycled beads or upcycled jewelry and I take it apart and completely disassemble it to make the new products that are in my store. So everything that's in my store is recycled. I haven't bought a pack of beads in a couple months now. Um, but what I do on stream is I will take the pieces that I get from the thrift stores or from donations from friends or family, and I'll take them apart live on stream. And then with those same pieces that they just saw me just take apart, I'll create something brand new and fresh
Wow.
and
Okay.
just show that off.
Now, if somebody wants to watch you doing this, how do we find you on Twitch?
On Twitch, my username is Graceful Dawn, so the same as my store.
Okay.
The link to find me is twitch.tv as opposed to .com or anything like that. Twitch.tv/Graceful Dawn, and that'll take you to my channel. I don't happen to have a set schedule, unfortunately,
That was my
because
next question.
yeah, because my real life retail job kind of has odd hours, so I kind of have to accommodate that first.
Yes.
So the streaming is a bit more of a hobby than I really would have liked it to be. But if you go to my channel, at the bottom there's a link to a Discord server, and if you join the Discord server, which again requires an account, I do post and say when I will be going live next,
Okay.
and to keep people in the loop of when I'll be available to do my next crafting bit.
Okay. So for someone like you who doesn't, what's it called? Twitch? Who doesn't
Twitch, yeah, Twitch
stream.
streaming.
I guess streaming. Sorry.
We honestly, in the makers and crafting community, we call it twitching because Twitch is very twitchy, i.e. that it glitches a lot and it can be a little sporadic at times. So that is the correct lingo as well.
Okay, good. So I'm not way off. So by clicking on the link that you mentioned, one would get notifications of when you're going to go live.
If the twitch.tv/Graceful Dawn will take you to my channel.
Right.
Once you're on the channel, though, there's no way, if you're just looking at the channel, there's no way for you to know when I'm going live. In order to do that, you have to go and click on the button that says follow at the top. It's a little star that says follow, or sorry, a little heart that says follow. And once you click that will actually notify you either via your email or if you have the mobile Twitch, if you have the mobile Twitch app, it will notify you through that as well and let you know when I'm going to be going live.
Okay. All right. So I will put that in the notes for this episode too. Now you said that you've had increased sales from being on Twitch. How does that work?
It's pretty crazy, to be completely honest. People like to see, from what I've seen and what I've participated in, people like to see when a craft is being created live. So if that's like someone knitting something for just people to see and then showing that, oh, hey, look, it's a scarf. Or if it's something that, like I do, like I create jewelry out of the beads and the disassembled pieces, people like to see that live. And since I create the things live, I've had a couple people say, hey, I know that this won't be listed on your website for a little while, but can I go ahead and put dibs on that? Can I go ahead and claim that? Because I'm really interested in buying that piece for myself since I saw how it was made and how the process works.
Okay.
So because it kind of gives people an insight as to the way that I work with the beads and the way that I am able to create these designs, that kind of gives people the idea of, hey, this actually is handmade. Maybe I should support this person. And that's how I've been getting the sales.
Oh, I
The
like
first,
that. Yeah.
yeah, my first ever stream was in January, and I happened to take apart my clearance items in my store. My website has a clearance section on it, and every 6 months I will clear out some of my store merchandise. And this time up and coming is a lot of Christmas themed pieces, as well as just some pieces I've had hanging out in my store for years, honestly. Time to get rid of them. So what I will do, I will take all of those pieces and put them in a box. And then while I'm streaming on Twitch, I will start taking them apart. When I was streaming in January at first, I took all of the pieces and I showed them off to the camera. I said, look, this is what I'm going to be taking apart next. Does anyone want this before I have to take it away? Before I have to take it apart, because maybe someone likes it that they didn't get a chance to see it before I'm about to disassemble it. And I had several people say, hey, yes, I actually really like that. And because it's on sale, I'll go ahead and I'll pay your discounted price because it's so old. I'll pick that up. I'll save it from its destruction. So I was able to save several pieces that way.
And do you direct them to make the purchases on your website?
Yes.
Okay.
With my clearance pieces, they're all listed on the website. I link them individually when I do take them apart.
Okay.
My next taking apart of my own merchandise is scheduled for June of 2020.
Okay.
So the stuff that's listed in my clearance section now will be there until the summer. That being said, people will have a chance to pick it up live on stream while I'm going and starting to tinker and take them apart.
Wow, this is just ingenious.
Yeah, it's quite the community out there.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like a pleasant surprise to have, stumbled on this community and not just for the purpose of having followers or growing, but actually also making sales, which sounds to me like it was just a happy side effect from just being on there.
It absolutely was. I didn't even expect to make very many sales from streaming on Twitch. I just wanted to show off my process. And I had mentioned in several other channels that I was hanging out in, I had mentioned that I take secondhand jewelry and I take it apart and remake it into new things. And I had at least 20 different people at various times, various time periods say, hey, you should stream that. I would watch you do that. That sounds like fun content.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just decided to take the plunge and do it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, people stream themselves eating. I don't know if you've.
Yes, they do.
Yes. I won't
Yep.
comment on that, but
Yeah, me neither.
but I mean, there's interest in, a lot of, just watching somebody do something that's of interest to you.
Yes.
So has Twitch, in the grand scheme of how you spend your time growing your business and selling, has that replaced social media, or are you still on social media? And do you use social media for promoting your business and what you're doing? Because it sounds like Twitch kind of helps with that.
Twitch absolutely helps with that. Twitch, how I view it, it's just another social media.
Okay.
It just happens to be a bit more hands-on than the other social medias because you can directly interact with the person who's broadcasting.
Yes.
So I still use Facebook. I still use Instagram. I still am posting on those within a few days, like a couple days between posts, and I'll go ahead and keep that up to date for sure. Twitch at the moment is just a side hobby. It's just a side kind of gig, I guess, that I just do for fun when I have the spare time to do it. And I always recommend people check out my Instagram and Facebook before I even go on Twitch because I'm more active on those than I am on the Twitch website.
Okay. Good to know. You know what? As you describe what you're doing on Twitch, it reminds me kind of what I think the Etsy update feature was supposed to do or be.
Mm-hmm.
Except I don't think you could post videos, and I don't know, I could be wrong. It's been a while since I used that particular tool that they offer, but I think it was meant to show a behind the scenes.
If I recall correctly, yes, that's kind of the idea that I got when I was still part of Etsy with it, that they were trying to show more behind the scenes and what was happening,
Yes.
like the creative process of it. I do remember getting quite frustrated with the Etsy, the
updates feature?
update stream. Yeah, I remember getting quite frustrated with it because I couldn't use my phone to take a photo right then and there. I had to take a photo with my camera app and then upload it to the app.
That's right.
And I couldn't upload from my desktop either, so I had to do it all on mobile, and that I just found very, very frustrating because if I took a good photo and it was sitting on my desktop and I had no way of getting it to my phone, I couldn't update the Etsy app. I couldn't use that at all.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've changed it since then,
I
but I
don't
remember being very
know.
frustrated.
Yeah, I don't know, and I haven't I haven't used that particular tool in a while, and if it's still the same as it was, and again, I don't recall if you could do videos, but it just sounds like that would be, a logical use for that tool is
Yeah.
video updates. If one could, it's kind of hard because you're using your phone and you need the phone to record you, but then the app is on the phone. So yes, it's clunky sounding when I describe it, but I think that's what it was meant to be or should be. Maybe it wasn't,
Yeah.
but I think that's what it
I
should
don't
be.
know if they abandoned that idea. I have no idea. Like since I left Etsy, I haven't even kept up
Looked
to date
back.
with what is going on there. Yeah.
You left us in your
I haven't looked
dust.
back as a seller. I still return as a
As a
buyer, as a
buyer,
customer,
yes.
but
Yeah.
now as a seller, I've never looked back.
Now, Stacey, you have two shout outs.
I do.
Okay, go for it.
I do. The first one is she is on Etsy. Her name is sleepinglunadesigns.etsy.com. She is a cross stitcher, and she has awesome patterns. She also streams on Twitch.
Oh,
So
nice.
twitch.tv/sleepinglunadesigns. Um, she is an awesome human being, to put it any other way. And she does her stitches and she will stitch her patterns live on stream, so you can kind of watch and see as she's making these patterns live.
Mm,
The patterns she makes on stream are also available in her Etsy store. It's where she has them.
nice.
She has beaded spiders as well, I believe, that a friend of hers makes. And she also has needle minders, little magnets that you can stick on your cross stitching to keep your needle from falling down when you're working on your project.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, she's got quite a lot going on.
And she does all cross stitch patterns.
She does all cross stitch patterns. That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
She's working on in March. She's working on her own stitch along, basically meaning that anyone who's interested can sign up for her for the stitch along pattern that she's created, and then throughout the months of 2020, they will work together to stitch this pattern all together. Um, and only herself and a few select people know what the finished pattern will look like. Everyone else, it's a mystery. They will just see the pattern unfold as bit by bit is released every month.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
It's a lot of fun. It's a great way to get the community kind of going and to
Yeah.
promote the design. It's really cool. And I
Yeah.
happen to be one of the lucky people who's seen the finished product, and
Oh,
it's
you have.
absolutely
So it will take 12 months to complete?
more or less, yes. Maybe a
Wow.
little bit less than that. She's spaced it out so that I believe there's going to be a section of it released every month.
Okay.
I could be incorrect about that. I'm not sure if she's got different timing in mind than what she last told me. But from my understanding, it was a little bit every month.
And to participate, one needs to buy the pattern from her Etsy store
Uh,
or each month as they're released so you can follow along.
I believe she will have pre-orders live later in March.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact date, but if you go to her Twitch page or her Etsy, I'm sure she'll have more information. And she's more than happy to answer messages on Etsy as well to answer any questions.
Okay. Wonderful. And I will link to her. What's her name? Did you say her name?
Sleeping Luna Designs. Her name is Liz.
Liz. Okay. I will link to Liz's shop, her Etsy shop and her Twitch. What do you call it? Twitch page or Twitch handle? What's the lingo?
Twitch channel, I think, is what it's
Twitch
called.
channel.
I call them just the Twitch, but that's not the right proper way to refer to it. I think it's Twitch channel is the right way to refer to it.
Okay. And hers is twitch.tv/Sleeping Luna Designs.
That's correct. The same as her Etsy
Okay.
store.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. And who's your second shout out?
The second shout out is Creative Only. She doesn't have a store yet, but her and I have discussed meeting up so that we can figure out how to get her on the right track to starting up a store. Her name is Calyx Creative, CalyxCreative. She streams on Twitch only at the moment.
Okay.
But she is all over the place with her creations. She does resin art, she does cross stitching, she does sewing, she does painting, She does beautiful calligraphy. She's a graphic designer by trade. She'll every now and again on her streams, she'll stream some gameplay of her and her friends just having fun in some games. So she does everything and anything, and she's just another awesome human being that I've come to meet through Twitch and just have a lot of fun with.
Oh, nice. So right now, all she does all that live streaming on her Twitch channel.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. And her goal is to at some point open an e-commerce store or Etsy. We don't know yet, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
I'm not sure which one of the two she wants to pursue at the moment.
Okay.
But her and we've been talking. She lives quite close to where I live. So we've been talking about meeting up for real in person and going over some business numbers and figuring out how to get her set up and started.
Oh, nice. Okay. And so on Twitch, she would be twitch.tv/Calyx Creative.
Calyx Creative. That's correct.
And I'll put the link for her channel as well in the notes for this episode, which will be available at convome.com, and so you can check those out. Stacey, what's in the future for you? What are you looking forward to doing next in 2020?
Well, that's a great question. 2020 for me so far has been a very good year. I have already, because of streaming on Twitch, I have already surpassed the goal of sales I had set for January. So I'm hoping to repeat that for the end of February and for March. So hopefully that will continue to happen. I would definitely want to host more products and more collections onto my website and start getting more of the stuff that I have sitting in boxes uploaded to my website so that it's not just sitting there gathering dust for forever.
Yeah.
So that's a major goal.
Nice.
Apart from that, just continuing on and just helping out creative people if they want to start streaming on Twitch, or if they want to just hang out with me while I'm streaming or anything like that, and just build a community is really the big goal that I have set.
Yeah, I like that. So again, if you do want to watch Stacey live streaming on Twitch, her channel is twitch.tv/Graceful Dawn. I will link to that in the notes for this episode. You can also check out her e-commerce website. It's gracefuldawndesigns.squarespace.com, and I will link directly to her shop in the show notes for this episode. I was like, what's my website again? I forgot.
I have that moment too. The number of times I've almost said .etsy.com for my own, because I was on there for 2 years. The amount of times I've almost done that, it's ridiculous. I have to stop myself and go, wait, no, that doesn't exist anymore.
Like,
that's a lie.
Gone. No more. Thank you so much for coming back on the podcast. And
you're welcome.
I feel like you're going to be doing something completely different again, in addition to what you're doing now. And I would love to catch up again in the future.
Oh, absolutely. Well, let's not say a year from now, because it might be longer than that.
Okay, no problem. Stacey has a special going on for listeners of the podcast, and I'm going to have Stacey tell you what that special is.
Absolutely. So for listening to the Etsy Conversations podcast and just hearing my story and spending the time with myself and Ijama, if you go to my website, gracefuldawndesigns.squarespace.com, and enter in the coupon code PODCAST, PODCAST, you can get 15% off of any purchase on my website.
Thank you so much, Stacey, for giving
You're very welcome.
that to the podcast listeners. Please do go check out what Stacey is doing. And I thank you for listening to the podcast episode, and I will be back with another episode next week.